Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Hired the Podcast. I'm Travis Miller, and this week I will be joined by Krista Whiting from Parkwood International, Executive Recruiter and Director of Nursing and Healthcare down there in Texas. Today we're going to talk an awful lot about Krista's place as one of the pioneers in personal professional branding on LinkedIn, what candidates can do to establish their professional brand to get noticed by employers before they even start looking for a job. We're going to talk about what companies can do to really showcase their employment brand to attract the best candidates. And with Krista being an expert in nursing and healthcare, she's going to talk a little bit about the state of that industry and what people in that world of work can expect in the future. So without any further ado, let's take it away.
Here I go, ready now, I'm coming for you, can't nothing stop me, I got some things I gotta do, hey, I'm making a move,
Krista Whiting, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being with us today, and super excited to talk to you about your experiences with the world of work, with talk about companies and what they can do to identify and attract the best talent, candidates can do to set themselves apart, and to really dig in and to hear your story about who you are and why you've been so successful. So thanks so much for being here with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
My pleasure. Honor to have you on the show. So, Krista, give us the 60 seconds about so our audience knows who you are and what you do.
Exactly. So I am the Director of Healthcare Recruitment at Parkwood International. I have been in executive recruitment for over 10 years in the industry, focusing on clinical nurse leadership for 5. I really enjoy being the client ambassador and the candidate advocate on both sides. I believe in the core values of generosity, compassion, and empathy on both sides of the interview process. And I try to carry those values into my personal life as well. I love doing what I do. I love helping people when I can. I love making people laugh when I can. So that's a little bit about me.
And you are also one of the earliest adapters of really building and highlighting your social brand on LinkedIn. You've been doing it for a couple of years now, and most people are still rookies at it.
Well, when I joined Parkwood, I realized that I was in an industry that I knew nothing about. I knew no one in it. And I thought the best way to really immerse myself in the industry is getting to know the people within it. And so that's why I took it upon myself to start connecting with others via LinkedIn. That's probably the main platform that I utilize. But in doing so, I simultaneously learn from others as much as they're learning about what my brand philosophy is. And so I thought it was such a key to start growing my network as fast as I possibly could. When I started, I had like 250 connections on LinkedIn, and now I've got about 21,000. So I guess it's worked out okay.
That's a couple. That's a couple. So how much should candidates do that? How much should candidates focus their time on building their social brand, building their presence on LinkedIn, and why is that important?
I think it's important for candidates, not only candidates, but on the company side, to build their philosophy and their representation of their professional, personalized self on social media. Whenever recruiters or talent acquisition or HR are talking about candidates, the first thing they do is Google them. That's just what every person does. And the biggest professional network right now is LinkedIn. So the first thing they'll go see is your profile, which is a elevator pitch in itself, but then they're also going to see what you're doing online. And so ensuring that what you do exhibits your professional philosophy that's within your core values, that showcases the best version of your professional self. Because I'll tell you, I've heard some great stories, but I've heard some not so great stories. I knew of a candidate who actually was interviewing for this great job, faith-based, non-for-profit healthcare system in Texas, and he was a shoo-in. But the recruiter went and checked his social media, and he liked a page that was a little racy. All I'm going to say is the title of the page was Hot Naked Selfies. That didn't go over very well with them. He didn't move forward. It had nothing to do with what he said and everything to do with what he followed, because essentially that's a characteristic of you, and that's not something that they wanted affiliated with your brand. So social media presence can make or break how your future employees can see you. So it's absolutely crucial that you ensure that you're pretty PC with what you're posting. The more positive, the better. If you're encouraging and engaging on other folks, it also builds your presence online as well. So make sure it's clean, make sure it's positive, because people are watching, even if they're not saying that they do.
Hot naked selfies.
Hot naked selfies. Yep.
All right. Krista, what percentage of the candidates that you work with, how often do you find them first on LinkedIn?
Well, it's funny that you say that. I'm a little on edge today because I have a gal that interviewed yesterday for a job, and the only reason that we were connected is because she added me on LinkedIn. Sweet gal, I'll say her name is Sally. I'm like, Sally, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I'll gladly try to help you. May I ask, how did you find me? And she said, well, I found a post that you made about encouraging others, and it resonated with me. So I wanted you to represent me. It's looking like she's going to get an offer. And so that serendipity is amazing. And she came to me because of what I stood for, not what Parkwood does, not my credibility as a recruiter, but because of something that I posted that advocated for my values. Last year, I placed tons of folks from our LinkedIn interaction. And so it's really reciprocal. I go to them as much as they go to me. But it's because it's already a warm relationship, because we've seen what each other has posted. We've engaged on each other's things. I've also stopped following people because what they post, because it's very powerful.
I want to re-emphasize the point that you're making here, Krista, to make sure that companies and candidates are hearing that message too, and not thinking that it's just for recruiters. I think if candidates, before they're thinking of looking for a job, if they're just following, connecting, and engaging with cool companies in their industries, interesting voices, powerful people with powerful messages, if they're doing that now and they're building their network and they're building their community and they become a known voice in that community, if and when the time comes for them to look for a new company, a new role, then so many people in their industry, at companies they're interested in working for, and hiring authorities that they're interested in helping to achieve their vision, then they are in such a greater place of power, because like the story you just told, those hiring authorities will already know that person. They will already know what they're about, what their values are, what their vision is. And I was talking to a neighbor of mine recently, and he got some really bad news that his position is going to be eliminated early next year. And he came to me and he says, I finally opened up my profile so that people can view it. Can you help me take a look at it? And so I went there today, and the poor guy, I mean, he's starting from scratch. He's got
man.
7 connections. At least he's got a picture, and his profile isn't too bad. I mean, it's a halfway decent resume, but 7 connections, no engagement. We were talking about it the other day, and I was telling him everything he can do, should do, could do. And he said, boy, I didn't realize there was that much. I might have to go watch some YouTube videos about how to improve my LinkedIn profile. And I kind of shook my head. I said, no, watch LinkedIn videos about how to improve your LinkedIn profile.
Yes.
He went, there's video on LinkedIn?
So many tools on LinkedIn.
And I think that's the problem is there are so many candidates out there that don't realize the power of it. And the ones that do realize the power of it and take advantage of it have such a better possibility of being a known commodity and being seen before the hiring process even starts.
Oh, yeah. And here's the reality of the hiring situation. Even before COVID, now in COVID, only 9% of people who apply to a job directly online will get an interview. That's it. 70% of the people who did get a job get it because they either have networked with somebody within the organization or they utilize a recruiter that's specific to their industry that can make an introduction. But the core of that is relationships. It's all about those relationships, Travis. And so, let's say a candidate really wants to be, thinking about considering a change, engaging with those future companies, following their pages, liking their stuff. And I'll tell you a trick that I use to get people to start to engage with me without directly like the connect and immediately pitch them. I don't like that.
Buy my stuff.
Yeah, no, don't buy my stuff. Well, what I like to do is, buy me a drink first. Let's start to engage slowly, right? So like, let's say Bob posts something. I like Bob's stuff. After a couple of weeks, I like to endorse Bob for exceeding in Excel. That's fabulous. 9 times out of 10, you know what happens? They send you a little message. Thanks for endorsing me for Excel. Well, you're welcome, Bob. I'm so glad to have you in my network. That way you can organically build a relationship, gain trust on both sides, and it's not just an immediate pitch, because I'll be honest with you, those turn me off so badly when somebody immediately, buy my stuff. Learn about what stuff we can mutually have together and see if a relationship can go from there.
Mm-hmm. Have you started sending video messages through LinkedIn to people yet?
Ooh, no, that's funny. I haven't started utilizing that. I'm still on the creating the content that is not just work related, not just recruiter related, but just content related that can humanize the process, because we are all humans. No one's perfect. Everybody knows about being excited, scared, nervous about everything within the hiring world of work, right? And so my content, my posts, and my videos, I try to surround it with humor. I try to surround it with compassion. But I've seen your videos a lot on LinkedIn, and they look great. Can you tell me a little bit about the success you've seen with that?
Yeah, so we're still pretty new at it. So the success has really come from the engagement, and I think that's the thing about building your social brand, is that the ROI isn't now. It's not when you do it now. And
so slow.
It is, but you got to stick with it, and you got to be consistent with it. And I think that's why it's so important for everybody. And I don't even want to say candidates, because anybody in the world can be a candidate at some point.
Absolutely.
And so that's why it's important to get started now, because like you were saying, people do business with people that they know, people they like, people they have a relationship with. And we were talking about how annoying it is for somebody to immediately say, buy my stuff. What do you know about Bitcoin? How's your insurance? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's the same as you need a job and applying directly, or reaching out to somebody at a company that you've never had any interaction with, and saying, I saw you had this job posting. I'm interested. I think you should interview me. Versus you being connected with somebody for 2 years, you engage with each other on the social brand. They've seen your name and your comments associated with the things their company is doing, so that when you do become a candidate, they're interested in you. And so our content that we've been putting out, we're still in the infancy stage. So I really appreciate you complimenting it. But the ROI we've seen so far is the engagement with people within our industries and building connections and making new friends that we're learning a lot from, and most of them we will never ever do business with. But I am positive that some of them we will.
Oh, it's a residual effect that LinkedIn has and your social engagement has. I'm going to do business with approximately 0.0005% of the people that I'm engaged with on LinkedIn. But it's nice because there's going to be a third degree connection who has heard of me or is like, oh, you're that girl on LinkedIn. You posted something last week. I really liked it. Even that step can be a warm call. And so as a candidate considering a change, start now, absolutely. Build your network with the companies that you think could be of interest to you. Start to add those people on your network, but don't just be a wallflower. Engage with them, right? Mm-hmm. And so when the time comes, it's already going to be a warm connection, because the spray and pray method of sending out hundreds of applications and quick apply, that does not work. But the sniper approach and the relationship building approach will most of the time.
Yeah, if all you're doing, Krista, is applying to open jobs, then unless there is a perfect match for skill set and requirement, you're going to get bounced.
Yep.
But I think about my wife's cousin's daughter, who recently graduated from college and wants to start a career in human resources. Pretty passionate about that, but she's been working all through college at Jersey Mike's and just working 12-hour shifts, making sandwiches, and she's not getting any interviews at all because she has very little experience in that. And she's done a pretty terrible job. She would agree with me, we've talked about this, in highlighting what she wants to do, the skills she has for what she wants to do. And companies are just bouncing her because they see shift manager at Jersey Mike's. But I've known this young woman for 10 years now. I know who she is. I know what she's about. I know what her values are, what her passion is. And so we're talking about her possibly coming to work for our company. And that's the relationship you can start to build through your social network by showcasing your values, who you are, and what you're about.
And I love that you pointed on that, because I'll tell the world, and I'll admit this. I didn't get the job at Parkwood because I was a great recruiter in my past. I got the job at Parkwood because of the things that I've done in my personal past. It's about my character philosophy. I believe in resilience. I believe in hard work. I believe in the things that it takes to be gritty. You know, Angela Duckworth, that book really spoke to me. Mm-hmm. Because it is about being determined in those core values. And those are transferable skills that will go well in another job. And that's the kind of content that really resonates with folks on social media. You know, as a recruiter, if I post about a job, nobody cares. Yeah, sorry guys. But what resonates with people is the human experience that we can all relate on. So if you are constantly showcasing your values of, you like to encourage people, you like to empower people, you like to root for others, it showcases who you are, and those skills will transfer anywhere well if those are the skills they're looking for in other people. We can teach people skills. We just can't teach people to change their personalities.
Yeah, you can't train work ethic. You can't train integrity. You can't train compassion. We can train people to pick up the phone. We can train people what questions to ask. So
all day.
It's one of my mantras in life is to hire what you can't train. And I wish more companies would take that to heart, but I do think that more companies are starting to take that to heart. What are you seeing out there?
I'm seeing that organizations are looking beyond the resume. Absolutely. Now, let me preface, a very well-written resume will get you in the front door.
Mm-hmm.
The interview is absolutely what will differentiate you between your competition, and what you cannot professionally articulate on your resume with your quantifiable metrics, with your accomplishments specific to you, needs to showcase in your character when you show up to your interview. I tell folks to be their whole self, but be just the professional version of that whole self, because people hire people that they like. I've had organizations pass on candidates who are overqualified, overeducated, just because their demeanor was kind of, ugh. They either came off as pretentious, they're not a team player, and I promise you, personality will get you farther in the door in your interview process than your resume alone, because people hire people that they ultimately like and want to work with, and that are coachable. That's another good trait companies are looking for too.
Yep, and another one you can't really train.
Not at all.
So what can a candidate do, or what can somebody do even before they're a candidate to showcase and highlight those aspects of who they are, the non-resume stuff, so that companies have a sense of who they are and what non-coachable skills they have before they even consider them for a job?
Social media is absolutely the best way in terms of your content. Like you said, it's kind of like a pre-screen before somebody is even considering looking at a job. What are they posting? What is the content about? It's a really good way to showcase it. But it's really also in the psychological demeanor of how you handle answering those questions in the interview process as well. You know, if somebody says, well, I do this, I did this when I was the team lead here, maybe that person might not be a team player. But the we, us, the team, that's showcasing somebody who is a collaborator and wants to contribute to the organization as a whole. I also find in the interview process, when candidates are talking about the reason why they left their job, if it's everybody else's fault in the room but yours, you know what they say about that, Travis.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. If you're the only one with brown on your nose, you know what I mean? And so holding yourself accountable, being authentic while you do it, but also encouraging the development of folks around you, that showcases those skill sets that you cannot articulate on paper. Mm-hmm. And that's what companies are looking for. And speaking of companies, they need to do the same thing as well, Travis. The candidates are interviewing companies just as much as companies are interviewing candidates. So they also have to roll out the red carpet for the values that are important to them and why the candidate should join that company. So it's also, the burden is on them as well to be attractive to talent, passively considering change.
I'm so happy you took the conversation in this direction, Krista, because it's a point I really was hoping we'd touch on, is what can companies do to almost flip the script we were just talking about. What can they do so that people out there see what they're doing, see what they're about, what they're trying to accomplish, and why somebody should be interested in joining them before they ever consider them as a potential employer?
So I think the most important thing that a company can do to differentiate themselves with their competitors in the market is showcase the human side of their culture. Mm-hmm. And whenever people overuse the phrase, oh, our company culture, it's not just ping pong tables and bean bags and, Red Bulls in the fridge. That's great. But when your employee is struggling, how do you work with them? Mm-hmm. Whenever somebody is successful, how do you celebrate them? When someone fails, how do you help them rise again? You can showcase that on your company's social media by celebrating the little moments that's meaningful to everyone. For example, in healthcare, there's an award called the Daisy Award, and it's very prestigious for staff nurses only. And when I see hospitals just go above and beyond, parties for their person that got chosen, it lets me know they're a culture of just collaboration, teamwork, and celebrating each other. Because I'll be honest, there are company cultures that encourage, that cutthroat mentality, that unhealthy competition, and quite frankly, it breeds distrust amongst the team whenever you're like, okay, well, I don't give a crap about that guy. I'm just trying to beat him. You know, let's be everybody's cheerleaders, not everybody's conspiracy theorists. So companies need to showcase the human side of their culture, how they develop their team, how they celebrate their team, how they train their team, not just their credibility in terms of their success in their business, but how they treat their people. If you can find a way to articulate that on social media, you're doing your own marketing for your company. You're doing your branding, you're doing your attracting talent piece online. And again, there's companies I would want to work for in a heartbeat because they just look so, I'm not going to say the cliche fun, but they do look fun, but they also look like they care about their employees. And when times are tough, people need to feel like the loyalty is reciprocal. And there are companies I would never work for in my life because I've seen how they treat people on social media. It's a very powerful message because as much research as a company does on a candidate, that's the first thing I tell all my candidates to do is research the company. Is this a place you'd want to work for? And not every time it's a yes.
No, a lot of times it can be a no. Should companies worry at all about putting an impression out there that they're just bragging about themselves? Look at our people, we're great. Should they worry about that at all? Or is that not how people perceive material like that out there?
I will say that they absolutely should worry about what the gossip mill says, hands down. So like I said, I recruit for clinical nurse leadership in the Texas market. I live here in DFW, but in Houston, in Harris County, there are 80 hospitals within that small metroplex area. And I cannot tell you how difficult it is to get a local candidate to look at another local hospital. You want to know why? Because, well, I'm not going to talk to hospital ABC because my friend Susie, who used to work there 2 years ago, said that it was a toxic culture. The boss always hung out in the office. No one ever got raises. It was terrible. Never worked there. So your reputation absolutely can be made or broken by the company culture. And that's how forever you speak with people and how you treat people. And so that might not be on social media, but I'll tell you, I see candidates posting, oh, I would never work for that hospital. Oh, I've always wanted to work for that hospital, because word of mouth gets around so quickly in the world of work and with companies. So you don't want to be on the bad side of the rumor mill. You want to be the, oh, I've heard of them. Yes, I would love to speak with them. That brings my heart such joy. But when I also hear candidates go, ugh, no, I don't want to work there, it's not because of the lack of pay. It's not because of the benefits. It is because of the people. Because again, full circle, companies are about people, and people want to work for people that they like.
And a lot of times it's the leadership that is the cause of people not wanting to go work there.
Absolutely, it's the leadership. Almost 9 times out of 10, it's about the leadership. I unfortunately did a research study on incivility in nursing, and what that means is bullying. And most of the time it happens laterally, but when someone's in a position of authority, they can take advantage of their subordinates and put them in compromised positions. And so it's sad that it still happens, but unfortunately people think that career and possession are the same thing, and they're not, Travis. We have a choice in who our boss is if we have the courage to know what we want and go seek it from another employer. Loyalty should go both ways. And if you're not being treated right or fairly, look for a boss that will treat you better.
So I want to spend a little time talking about your industry, Krista. You've been working in nursing for many years, helping great companies find great nurses. What's the current state of the nursing world, and what do you see the future looking like?
Well, we're obviously in COVID 2020, So at the beginning of COVID, hospitals were unsure how they were going to be hit by the market in terms of hiring, but also in terms of their patients. So when elective surgeries were halted, that can generate 50% of the revenue for a hospital. So that is a lot of money to not be able to pay their employees. So unfortunately, a lot of folks got let go. So we're in a strange hiring market right now, Travis, where there's a lot of high-level executives who were most of the layoffs right now in healthcare looking for roles. But then the companies are saying, you're overqualified, you'll probably get bored. And they're making the decisions for candidates. Mm-hmm. I don't quite like that. I feel like folks are being taken advantage of. So clients that are listening, take a chance on people. They're grown up enough to know what jobs they want. Okay? Okay. That's all I'm going to say about that. Time out, but we'll go back to it. So the good news is that there are organizations that are starting to hire again because they realize that with COVID, we're going to have to adapt. People will always need their health care. People are still going to be having babies, and people are still going to be getting sick. And so they're trying to regain the confidence in the market of the patients. You should come back and get your everyday care. But hiring authorities are also saying, we need these leaders back because, maybe did we think too soon? Did we react instead of be proactive? They did. So candidates that are looking, there are jobs out there. I promise you. But you also have to hold yourself to a higher standard with that sniper search instead of the spray and pray. There are several recruiters that will gladly help you. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the state of the industry as it is right now.
Is there anything that candidates that you work with can and should do at this time to set themselves apart from other people who are also trying to get the same roles that they are?
Yes, please get as specific as possible on your resume for the role that you are searching for. Don't generalize your specialization if you're in healthcare. Please don't give me I'm the detail-oriented team player. Like, everybody's heard of that. I'm done. Please make it specific to you. Make it specific about the size of your hospital, the size of your unit, how many FTEs you had, your quantifiable metrics, your HCAP scores, your employee engagement scores. Use numbers, get specific on your unit, and you're already going to be leaps and bounds over your competition. Because all I see are these vague job descriptions that are copy-pasted from online instead of, I want to see Sally. She was the director of nursing at a level 1 trauma 600-bed hospital. She had 300 FTEs. Her patient satisfaction scores in the 99th percentile. That's who people want to talk to, not I can collaborate and I know Excel. Like, they don't want to talk to you. They want to talk to people who know their stuff. So practice your stuff, prep your stuff, and you will be leaps and bounds ahead of the competition. Mm-hmm.
So talk a little bit about Parkwood. You've been there for 5 years now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So what does Parkwood do that you think is great? What's kept you there for so long, and what do they do that's helped you be so successful?
I can't tell you how lucky I am to be part of the Parkwood team. I'm surrounded by people who set the bar so high in terms of excellence for executive recruitment. So Parkwood International is owned by Hal and Judy Doherty. The thing that I enjoyed the most about my training with Parkwood International is that Hal gave me, and gives others the chance to fail. He said, fail your way, and then fail our way and see which one works better. So that's exactly what I did. The first 2 years, I fell on my face constantly. I was so bullheaded and not willing to allow myself to show up because I was just trying to be how everybody else sounded, and that didn't work for me, Travis. What I realized is I can combine my personal and professional self to be a better recruiter. I started knocking down my pride a little bit because I was, let's face it, I sucked. It was terrible. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to listen to the top AE in all of the MRI network, Sherry Putnam, and see what she does. I started to listen to her. Then I started to listen to Bodie Nowak. Then I started to listen to Daniel Roars and Reed Rogers and all these tenured leaders within my organization that were the best mentors I've ever could have had. But most importantly, I found my own voice. to have not only the tools and the processes to make me successful, but for me to show up and utilize my own verbiage. So that's what's worked best for me, is learning from the people around me and admitting that I will always have things to learn. Mm-hmm. So that culture of autonomous, empowering, encouraging, and letting people fail, that's what makes people successful at Parkwood.
To the young new recruiter out there, Krista, what's the one piece of advice you would give them?
It's not about you. It is about the relationships you build with other people. Stop talking so much. Listen more, for the love of God and all his creatures swimming in the sea and crawling on the land. Listen to people. It's an active skill that we have to purposefully take time for. And if you do not listen to your candidates, nonverbal cues of, well, they're not calling me back. They're taking a long time to call me back if they do. They're not answering my questions directly, but sure, I think they'll take the job. They're not. Same thing with clients too. You have to listen for those red flags, because if you look at your world through rose-colored glasses, all you'll see is flags. So be realistic and listen.
I love it. Well, Krista, thanks so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it. A lot of really, really good information that I learned, and I think a lot of people can, if they implement even a fraction of what you talked about today, it's going to tremendously help their job search, or to help them find those great candidates that can help them achieve their company's vision.
Well, and thank you for inviting me. I'm so glad that I'm back again. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I know people in the world of work, outside of it, looking for new work, looking for new bosses and new places to land, are absolutely going to learn from this. So I appreciate you, and I know this is going to help a lot of people.
Well, thanks again so much, Krista. Be sure to reach out to Krista and connect with her. She is a tremendous person to follow on LinkedIn. And please make sure to rate this podcast if you'd like it. I'd love for you to leave a review and subscribe to catch all future episodes wherever it is you listen to podcasts. So thanks so much for listening to Hired the Podcast. And Krista, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you, Travis.
All right.
Bye.
I'm making a move. Study long, study wrong. Ain't nothing gonna happen on its own.